You know, it's funny. Sometimes the most dangerous moment isn't in the middle of a big fight. It's in that quiet moment right after you've won. It's when you think the threat is gone that a totally different, more hidden danger can pop up from the inside. So let's dive into this absolute masterclass in leadership and how to handle a crisis.
So, what do you think? What is the biggest threat to a winning team? Is it another army coming over the hill, running out of supplies? Or could it be something else? Something from within your own ranks? That's the huge question at the heart of this incredible story.
And that's exactly what happened to the Muslim community on their way home from a huge victory at the Battle of Banu Al-Mustaliq. I mean, they had just won the military fight, but a brand new, kind of sneaky conflict was about to just explode from inside their own group. Okay, so let's set the scene here. The battle's done, the army is marching home, feeling pretty good. But what they don't know is that this victory lap is about to turn into a massive test from within, one that could have torn apart everything they were building. Now, to really get what happens next, you gotta understand who was on this trip. See, a whole group of hypocrites had tagged along, not because they believed in the cause, but because they wanted a piece of the action, the spoils of war. And the source material tells us that the more successful the Muslims were, the angrier these guys got. They were just waiting, biding their time for the perfect chance to stir up some trouble. And that chance came from this guy, Abdullah ibn Ubai. He was the leader of the hypocrites. And he says these words, they're just dripping with poison. He calls himself and the locals in Medina the noble ones, and then calls the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, and his followers who migrated there the ignoble ones. This wasn't just some grumbling, you guys. This was a threat, a straight-up call for a coup. So here's the thing. It wasn't just one problem. It was like a two-pronged attack aimed right at the heart of the community's unity. You had this high-level political plot brewing, and at the exact same time, a social fire was starting at the ground level. Let's break down how this whole thing was supposed to work. So on one hand, you've got Ibn Ubai's political scheme to grab power. And on the other hand, you have this small scuffle, just a little fight between two soldiers, one who is an immigrant and one who is a local. But it blows up when they start shouting these old pre-Islamic calls for their tribes to back them up. Ibn Ubai saw this happen, and boom, he pounced on it. He tried to turn this tiny personal fight into a massive civil war between the two groups that formed the foundation of the whole community. Now get this, a young companion named Zayd ibn Arqam hears this treasonous plot. He does the right thing, right? He goes and reports it. But then, Ibn Ubai and his crew, they swear up and down they never said it. And at first, people believed them, not Zayd. Can you imagine how he must have felt? The source says he was just crushed by a grief he'd never known before. The stakes were sky high, and the truth was getting buried. Okay, so this is the moment. Everything changes. The word is out. Tensions are boiling over. Everyone is looking to their leader, the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, wondering, what are we going to do? And his response? Well, it's just a masterclass in brilliant leadership. The first reaction from some of the companions was, well, pretty much what you'd expect. Umar ibn al-Khattab, who was known for being really passionate about justice, saw it as clear treason. His solution was quick and to the point. Execute the guy who's trying to tear them apart from the inside. And let's be honest, a lot of leaders would have just said yes without even blinking. But the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, saw the bigger picture. He looked past the immediate anger and asked this crucial question. He wasn't just thinking about the threat right now. He was thinking about the PR nightmare, the long-term reputation of their entire movement. Because if the story got out that Muhammad kills his own people, that would be devastating. It would destroy all their credibility. He chose foresight over force. So what did he do instead? It was this brilliant three-part strategy. First, he killed the gossip by exhausting everyone. He ordered the army to start marching. Right now, no breaks. They marched all day, all through the night, and right into the heat of the next day. By the time he finally let them stop, they were so tired they just dropped where they were standing. Nobody had any energy left to whisper or fight. The conflict just fizzled out. Second, like we just saw, he protected their reputation. And third, and this is amazing, he promised to be kind and a good companion to the very guy who plotted against him, completely disarming the whole situation with mercy. And the power of this approach, wow. It's summed up in this one incredible moment. Abdullah ibn Ubai's own son,
who was also named Abdullah and was a true believer, were so disgusted by his father's actions that he went to the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, and offered to execute his own dad, just so no one else would have to. But the Prophet's response was firm. No, instead we will be gentle with him. This whole situation wasn't just about putting out a fire. It was a teaching moment, a real-life lesson that left behind these powerful, timeless ideas for anyone, anywhere, trying to build a strong, unified community. So one of the coolest ideas that came out of this was a whole new way of thinking about what it means to help someone. When a companion asked, "How can you help someone who is doing something wrong?" the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, explained that you help them by stopping them, by preventing them from doing the wrong thing in the first place. It's this active kind of help that protects both the community and the person from their own worst impulses. All right, so to wrap it all up, what are the big takeaways here? Well, that real leadership is about thinking ahead. It's about foresight, not just brute force. That the unity and reputation of your group is everything. That sometimes mercy is way more powerful than revenge. That falling back on prejudice and my team versus your team is a call of ignorance we have to reject. And finally, that our deepest loyalty should be to what's true and right, not just to our family or our tribe. And that leaves us with one last thing to think about. I mean, we live in a world that feels so divided, right? In our own communities, our workplaces, our countries, we hear all these calls for harsh justice and quick fixes. But what if the real power, the more strategic and healing path, is actually foresight and de-escalation and mercy? How can we take these lessons from centuries ago and use them to build stronger, more united communities right here, right now?